So we are back with the PFL. This weekend, we have got the heavyweights and the featherweights going at it, of course, and also Showtime Pettis in the co-main event. But your main event is Cappelozza taking on Scheffel. And honestly, if things go the way we think this card's gonna go, which again, it's MMA, things can happen, like, this should be a really easy card to predict. I mean, there's one fight on here, and you're going to see the fight when we get to it. Actually, there's two fights that I think are pretty tough to predict. But the others, man, the other 9, I think it's pretty straight up. We'll get through it, but we've got 11 fights here with the PFL this upcoming Friday night. And folks, if you haven't yet, make sure that subscribe button down below for some more MMA here on the channel. We are going to be posting our Bellator predictions later tonight. And then yesterday, we posted our UFC Fight Night predictions with the main event being Arman Tsarukyan and Mateusz Gamrot. So this is one of the two fights that I do think is kind of hard to predict. And as we get going here with this video and as we pick winners, I will keep track of like in the last video, I kept track of who I thought was going to make the playoffs with the predicted outcomes I am predicting. So we're going to do that again with this one, but we've got in our first fight, we have got, of course, Flores versus Ryoji Kudo. In Kudo's last fight, he was doing all right, better than I thought he was going to do, of course, against Brandon Loughnane. I mean, Loughnane wins by technical decision. Of course, the fight gets stopped. I mean, Kudo came into that one as a plus 750 underdog, and he held his own in that fight, and that's why I think this fight is a little bit tougher to predict than the others. I mean, because Flores, yeah, he did look good in his last fight. He did pick up a decision victory in his last one, which did give him 3 points. And by the way, every featherweight right now either is 3 or 0 points. I mean, they were 0 finishes in the first round of welterweight action in the PFL. We'll see if we get one this time, but a lot of guys who will take it to decision in the featherweight division here for the PFL. But this one's going to be close. I think it's going to be, but I think Flores is going to have the edge over Kudo. Kudo, again, isn't horrible. He went 3 rounds with or didn't go 3 rounds, but he was giving Loughnane some trouble, and the scorecards were close. I could have gone either way on it. Again, the technical decision. If Flores is able to keep this fight in the feet against Kudo, he should be able to win. I mean, the guy's 21-3. He's got some really good victories, of course, winning his last fight in the PFL, and then he won in 2021 as well with a split decision victory on one of the playoff cards. He got a shot in the Contender Series, but he just ran into the wrong guy, ran into Rafael Alves, and Rafael Alves is a good fighter. He just beat Mark DeCasey in his last fight. He's going to get Drew Dober in Dallas later this month or next month on the Peña Nunez 2 card. So I think Flores is really good. I think we'll keep the fight on the feet against Kudo. I don't think he's going to be able to get Kudo out of there, but I do like Flores to win this fight. He'll have 6 points in the featherweight division, and he'll likely clinch a spot in the playoffs. We'll check that in a second, but we're going to give him 3 points, adding on to the original 3 he already has. Next up, Brent Loughnane taking on Boston Salmon. I think Loughnane going to win this one. This is one of the more predictable ones on the entire card. I mean, maybe it's even a lock, honestly. Loughnane good. I mean, he's just ran into some of the wrong guys in his career. I mean, and just Dana White not allowing him in the UFC after his Contender Series performance against Bolaghi. And Bolaghi, by the way, is a guy who is now in the UFC. But Loughnane good. He just run to Khabib in his fight last year with the PFL, lost by split decision. He comes in 2019, he wins 2 fights. He wins, of course, twice in 2021 before running into the semifinal fight against Khabib, losing, and then just beat Kudo again in his last fight by decision. I don't think Loughnane is going to be finishing his opponent in this one in Boston Salmon, even though I don't think Salmon's the greatest. He did, make it 3 rounds with Moraes, something I didn't think was going to happen. I thought Moraes was probably going to stop Salmon, but again, Salmon's guys fought in the UFC. He had 2 fights. He beat Kyle Talha. He beat Randy Costa's. Best win by far is the win over Ricky Turcios to get into the UFC, winning that fight in the Contender Series. Turcios, of course, now an Ultimate Fighter winner for the UFC. Still, though, I don't think Salmon's as good as Brendan Loughnane. Loughnane really good just all around. He's good in the clinch. He's got pretty good striking. I think he should be able to bully Boston Salmon in this one. I don't think he's going to get him out of there, but I think Loughnane going to win. He's going to pick up 3 more points in the featherweight division. He'll have 6 total now, joining Flores for now in joint first place. Next up, Lance the Party Palmer taking on Salmon Moraes. I continue to take Lance the Party Palmer. Why? I don't know, but I think he's better than Salmon Moraes. Moraes beat a not very good Boston Salmon in his last fight. He of course, won twice last year in the PFL, but he fought Jesse Stern. He's not very good. He lost to Loughnane. Loughnane, I think his only finish in the PFL is Salmon Moraes when he knocked him out in his first fight in 2021. Moraes, of course, fought in the UFC. He, took on beat Magomed Sharipov. He beat Matt Sales, beat Julio Arce, lost to Sadiq Youssef, lost to Andre Touchy-Fili, and then had a fight against Marlon Moraes in World Series of Fighting for the Bantamweight Championship over there. He's taking on Lance Palmer, who is getting up there in age of 35 years old. Palmer's lost his last 3 fights to Jenkins, Khabib, and now Chris Wade, who Chris Wade's going to be fighting later on in this card too. But Palmer is the former PFL champ, won the damn thing in 2019. He ran through the entire competition in 2019 and in 2018 as well. He has not won since he won the PFL championship in 2019. I think he should be able to get this one done. I mean, man, I want to see Lance the Party Palmer do well. I think he's going to be able to take down Moraes. I think he should be able to weather the storm that Moraes is going to bring on the feet, because this one's pretty simple. It's either Lance the Party Palmer can get Moraes down, or Moraes is just going to box him into oblivion for 3 rounds. I think Palmer's going to be able to clinch with him. I think he's going to be able to tie him up, and I think Palmer's going to be able to bring him down, and that's why I'm going to give the victory to Lance the Party Palmer, picking up his first W since winning the PFL championship all the way back 3 years ago in 2019, hopefully getting him on the right track when he does come back probably for the 2023 season. This will give, of course, Palmer 3 points. It'll keep Moraes at 3 points. We'll see how the standings go in a second, but again, we will give 3 points to Lance the Party Palmer. Next up, we've got Saba Bolaghi trying to make it 1-1 this season against Bubba Jenkins. Jenkins, of course, winning his first fight against Bochniak, winning that one by unanimous decision, and now he's going to be taking on Bolaghi to try to go into the playoffs. Jenkins' PFL run, of course, last season, he won 2 fights against Palmer, then Moffitt, and then he lost Chris Wade in the playoffs. He might get another fight with Wade. We'll see how this one goes. But he's taking on Bolaghi, of course, the wrestler coming in from Germany. He lost his first fight in the PFL season, losing to Alejandro Flores by unanimous decision. Flores was able to, keep the fight standing and just really working on Bolaghi. And he ended up winning the fight, and I think Flores is the guy, again, who is probably going to make the playoffs. Bolaghi couldn't get his game going against Flores. I don't think he's going to be able to get his game going against Bubba Jenkins. Jenkins is a guy who's dealt with pretty good wrestlers in the past, like a Lance Palmer. I think he's going to be able to keep the fight on the feet, and if he's able to, Bubba Jenkins should be able to get this win. Even on the ground, I wouldn't be too concerned if Bolaghi is able to take Jenkins down. I think Jenkins, grappling-wise, is better than Bolaghi. Yes, Bolaghi's a good offensive wrestler, but once the fight does get down there, I still do think Jenkins can fight for his own down there. I think Bubba Jenkins is going to win. There's a reason he's sitting at a -400 favorite right now. Hell, no one's picking Bolaghi to win this fight. I don't think you should anticipate Bolaghi winning this one. Again, this card is pretty straightforward from here on out. The 2 toughest fights to pick were the Palmer fight and the Flores fight. I'm taking Bubba Jenkins by unanimous decision, giving him 6 points and clinching a spot in the playoffs for him. Is Ali Isaev going to make it to the fight? Because he hasn't fought since he won the PFL championship in 2019 against the Big Show, Jared Rochelle. He hasn't fought since then. He was booked twice in 2021, couldn't make both the fights. He's supposed to fight head-on Ferreira in his second fight in the PFL 2021 season, couldn't do it. And he's supposed to fight Abreu in his last fight never happened. Isaev withdrew. And now he's taking on Jamel Jones, a fighter who, if Isaev is fighting, which again, that's a big if, he should be able to beat Jamel Jones. And I think Jamel Jones is good. I think he's better than the record indicates. He's fought some pretty tough guys. You look at his losses over the last couple of years, it's Hernan Ferreira, who's really good. Cappelozza is the PFL champ. Will Knight, who's in the UFC. And Mike Rodriguez, a former UFC fighter who's seeming like he's going to get things back on track. At least I would think. He's winning in CES. We'll see what happens with his future. But again, Jamel Jones has fought some tough guys. He was on the Ultimate Fighter back a while ago. I think it was Joanna and Delija. It was that season. He lost his first fight, didn't get a shot in the UFC, went to King of the Cage, lost, and then won a fight, bounced back on the Contender, didn't get the win against Mike Rodriguez. And he's been fighting for wins since. He's been fighting in CES and CFFC. He's now in the PFL. He beat Kilson Abreu last year and then lost to Bruno Cappelozza when he got to the playoffs. But again, he's lost to Ferreira, he's lost to Cappelozza. Isaev should be able to have his way with Jamel Jones if this fight actually does happen. Because Isaev, I think, should be able to out-wrestle him. You know how good of a wrestling game Isaev's got. He's a former Olympic wrestler. His striking is good. The guy is 38 years old, but he's a really good, I wouldn't say his striking is great, but he throws big power shots. And if he's able to get the fight to the ground, it's going to be game over for Jamel Jones. So if this fight happens, I'll go with Isaev by first round TKO. Again, the big if, though, if this fight happens. We'll see what happens. I'm going to go with Isaev, again, if this one goes through, by first round TKO. Okay, so we're just going to run it back with Sam K and Dennis Goltsov. Okay, why? I don't know why we're doing this. Honestly, I don't know why we're doing this. I know Sam K missed, or he didn't even, I don't know, he withdrew the last second when he was supposed to fight Goltsov the first time around a couple months ago. Now, Goltsov wins this fight. He wins it by ground and pound in the first round like he's expected to do. Hell, he came into that fight a -2,000 favorite. He fought a fighter, Cody Gooddale, who was 8-5 going into that fight. He's now 8-6. Just saying something. The guy Goltsov beat was coming off a win in 35 seconds over a guy who was 0-8 in his last fight, and that's the fight that got him into the PFL. I don't know. They just needed a guy to fight Goltsov last second, and Goltsov was gifted on a silver platter 6 points. He is gifted another 6 points here in this fight with Sam K. He's not losing. He's not losing. This is a guy who went, 3-0 in the PFL season in 2019 before running into Isaev in his second fight on the the 9th episode card. The semifinal card, when you have to, PFL used to the format where you'd have to fight twice in one night. He beats Ishii in his first fight that night. He loses to Isaev. He comes back in 2021. He beats Moraes. He beats Brendan Sales. Runs into Ante Delija in the playoffs. And now he's back. He beats Goodale in his last win. He's going to beat Sam Key. This isn't Sam Key. This isn't like... This is pretty simple. I mean, Goltsov is going to win. He's going to take him down, and he's going to beat, like how he beats most of opponents. He'll take him down, ground and pound, fight over. This one is probably not going to last more than 2 minutes. Goltsov's going to come in here. He's going to take Key down. He's going to beat him up. I don't know why Key has this spot, honestly. I mean, he's the Hex Fight Heavyweight Champion. I mean, he lost to a guy, his 3 fights ago, he lost to a fight in WLF4 against a guy who's 2-2-1 at the time. I don't know why he's here. Goltsov's going to come in here, take him down immediately, and beat him to a pulp. Denis Goltsov wins this one first round TKO, giving him 12 points going to the playoffs, securing his spot in, of course, the PFL postseason. So another one of these fights. Like, what are we doing? Like, Ante Delija versus Stuart Austin. This is a mismatch, guys. Like, Stuart Austin has had 2 fights in the PFL, okay? The first one, he got knocked down 30 seconds by Henan Ferreira. And the second one, he just got beat up by Cappelozza. He lost by ground and pound in the first round in the main event of the last PFL card featuring the heavyweights and the featherweights. I don't know why Stuart Austin, I mean, okay, he's in the PFL season. He has to keep fighting, you know, he has to fight out the contract. But even coming into the PFL run this season, he lost to Dalcha Lujanbula. He lost to Johnny Walker. He lost to a guy who's 19-7 in S70. He won 2 fights against guys who no one's ever heard of. And then, you know, he loses to Ferreira. He loses to Cappelozza. And now he's fighting Ante Delija. Delia's a guy who's supposed to fight Studio Ghana at one point in time in the UFC. He didn't. He comes in the PFL. He gets knocked out by Cappelozza, which it was a fight where Delija was a minus 540 favorite too. No one really knew about Cappelozza all that much going into that fight. Cappelozza shocks everyone, knocks him out. But then Delija bounces back. He beats Chandler Cole. He beats Goltsov, which is a really good win for him in the playoffs. He runs into Cappelozza again. He doesn't get knocked out, but it goes the distance. He loses by unanimous decision. He then, you know, turned around in the 2022 season. He knocks out Scheffel in his first fight, and now here we are against Stuart Austin because Delija and Cappelozza, who are probably the top 2 guys right now in the heavyweight division for the PFL, they're switching opponents. I mean, maybe Henan Ferreira is that one exception. Maybe we'll see Ferreira, you know, Ferreira's, yeah, he's going to have to fight one of these guys in the playoffs. We'll see who after we calculate our standings, but Delija is not going to have any problems with Stuart Austin. He's probably going to knock him out in the first round. That's what I got. I mean, I don't think Austin's very good. He'll run into a big shot by Delija. Delia's got the power. He'll put him down. Ante Delija clinches his spot in the playoffs with 11 total points, knocking out Stuart Austin in the first round. So the way this is shaping up, this is going to be a winner-go-home fight. The winner gets in the playoffs, the loser is out. It's between 2 guys who won their first fight in the PFL 2022 season. It's Henan Ferreira and it's Kilson Abreu. Okay, Henan Ferreira is not going to lose, right? I mean, Abreu, sure, he won his first fight. I didn't think he was going to beat Krahesh. I didn't think he was going to get the job done. He wins it by unanimous decision. Good win for him. Obviously, he went up to heavyweight after he used to fight 205 in the UFC. You know, he comes in his first fight in the PFL last season, losing to Jamel Jones. Jamel Jones got him to the ground and, you know, beat him up and TKO'd him 2 minutes into the fight. So Abreu, you know, he is in a, you know, playoff clinching scenario type fight here with Henan Ferreira, but I just think Ferreira is better everywhere. Ferreira is better on the ground. He's got solid jiu-jitsu, but it's Ferreira's striking that has evolved, and it's looked really good recently. I mean, you look at the wins over Stuart Austin, you look at the win over Jamel Jones. The guy's a really good striking game, and I don't think he's going to have any problems with Kilson Abreu. It's just Abreu's not quick enough for him. You know, he's a smaller heavyweight too, even though the guy is 6'2", but Henan Ferreira is 6'8". The guy is massive. I mean, Ferreira is going to be the bigger guy in pretty much every single fight he does have. He's a long, lanky fighter. He's got a reach advantage on almost everyone. He's going to have a 10-inch reach advantage over Kilson Abreu in this fight. He's not going to have a problem. He's going to catch him with a big overhand and sit him down in the first round and finish him on the ground. Henan Ferreira is going to clinch a spot in the playoffs and probably secure the 1 seed with a first round knockout. It just depends on, you know, the timing and who gets the finish before whoever else, you know. It's hard to predict who's going to have the seeding with a lot of guys being tied, but we're going to say Ferreira clinches his spot in the playoffs. I'll say he'll clinch the 1 seed by beating Kilson Abreu in the first round by knockout. I mean, this fight might be a war. Chris Wade versus Kyle Bochniak. There's a reason this is the only featherweight fight on the main card. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun because you know the crazy fights Bochniak gets into, and Chris Wade has the capability of putting on some really good fights as well. I mean, look at his fight in the PFL season last year when he beat Ospinov in his second fight. You know, the big head kick knockout finish. He went for the head kick, kind of caught him with the knee, and then brought him. And then I think 1-2, dude face planted right on the mat, and that's how he clinched a spot in the playoffs. But Chris Wade, of course, in the 2021 season, beat up Jenkins in the first round of the playoffs and lost to Khabib in the tournament championship, of course, losing the championship fight. And then now he's regrouped. He beat Lance the Party Palmer in his first round fight. I thought Lance Palmer was going to win. Obviously, didn't go that way. Chris Wade's back to take on Kyle Bochniak. He's a minus 400 favorite. He'll win the fight, don't get me wrong, but I think Bochniak definitely has the possibility of making it really interesting, and that's what Bochniak will do. He's a fun fighter to watch. I mean, hell, he's a tough guy to put away. He's never been finished in his MMA career. If you want to watch a fight to show how tough Kyle Bochniak is, it's the fight against Zabit Magomedsharipov. It's a really good fight where, yeah, Bochniak probably loses every single round, but he's walking in. Zabit's throwing shots at him. The newly retired, by the way, Zabit Magomedsharipov. But Bochniak does, hands down, walking straight into Zabit's shots, telling him, hit me harder. It's a good fight. Unfortunately for Bochniak, he doesn't want to fight in the UFC after that. But then he went 3-0 in XMMA, and he, of course, got the shot in the PFL. I think it's going to be a competitive fight. That's why I don't think Wade's going to be able to finish Bochniak. But I'm going to go with Chris Wade to win this fight. I think he'll get it done by unanimous decision, clinching his spot in the playoffs. And now, this is where we look over the standings for the PFL featherweight division. So we give Wade his 3 points. We gave Alejandro Flores his 3 points, so they both have 6. Bubba Jenkins will have 6 as well, and Brandon Loughnane will have 6 points as well, and this makes this pretty easy. That means, of course, with Moraes losing to Lance the Party Palmer, it sends Brandon Loughnane into the playoffs, so it means I think this is going to go. Flores will be the 1 seed, Wade will be the 2 seed, Jenkins will be the 3 seed, and Loughnane will be the 4 seed, so you get Moraes versus Brandon Loughnane in the playoffs, and you'll get Alejandro Flores versus Chris Wade in the playoffs as well. So those are probably going to be your matchups for the featherweight division going in the PFL playoffs. But for now, again, for this fight in particular, I've got Chris Wade winning by unanimous decision. Okay, so according to the PFL and the PFL's website, Anthony Pettis has clinched the number 1 seed. Okay, I mean, I don't know how that is a thing because he's only won 1 fight, and now Olivier Aubin-Mercier and Alexander Martinez have both won 2 fights, given they were both decisions, but they both have 6 points, right? So they're 2 and 3, they've clinched playoff spots, and we'll get to Stevie Ray's potential playoff clinching scenarios too. But for Anthony Pettis, shouldn't he have to win a second fight to clinch the 1 seed? Because they say he's clinched the 1 seed, but he can lose this fight, be 1-1, and still be the 1 seed over 2 guys who went 2-0 just because he submitted a guy in Miles Price who isn't very good? I guess that's how that works. So Pettis is really fighting for nothing here. Now, do I think Pettis is going to win the fight? I think he will. And this is why I don't think Pettis is going to get a finish. I think he's going to fight this fight really conservatively. I don't think he's going to get into any danger in this fight because Anthony Showtime Pettis knows if win or lose, he's the 1 seed. So he does not have to get into any danger in this fight. He does not want to get into a war with Stevie Ray. That's why I think this fight will probably be boring because Anthony Showtime Pettis is not a stupid guy. He knows he's going to be in the playoffs no matter what. He does not want to risk an injury going into the playoffs later this year. So I don't think he's going to fight all that aggressively against Stevie Ray in this one because he's clinched the 1 seed. Now, I think he's still going to win. I think you're going to see you might even see a wrestling heavy approach from Anthony Pettis in this one, even though Stevie Ray does have some good jiu-jitsu, but you're going to see Pettis strike on the outside, again, not taking too many chances. You'll see him maybe with big shots, one here, one there. I still think he'll win the fight, just because I think Pettis, based on cage control time, and I think he should be able to beat Stevie Ray. But again, it doesn't make sense that he's already clinched the 1 seed. For Stevie Ray to get in the playoffs, he needs to get a finish before Hoosh Manfio did, basically. So you look at Hoosh Manfio, when he won his first fight, when he beat Don Madge, he knocked him out 2 minutes into the 3rd round. So basically for Stevie Ray, he's got to win his fight in 12 minutes or less, and he'll get in the playoffs. So do I think Stevie Ray can finish Showtime Pettis? No, I don't think he can. I mean, realistically, how does Stevie Ray win this fight? I mean, by stoppage, it's probably by submission, but Pettis is a pretty tough guy to submit, so I don't think he's going to be able to, get a submission because Showtime, I don't think so, he's been submitted once in his career, has Showtime Pettis, and it was the Diego Ferreira fight, and that was actually a really impressive performance for Diego Ferreira, but do I think Stevie Ray is going to do that to him? No. I think Pettis is going to fight this fight really conservatively. I think he'll win the fight. I think he'll have 9 points in the playoffs. He'll be the 1 seed, and he'll get a rematch against Hoosh Manfio from last year. Now, if you're Showtime Pettis, though, wouldn't you want to fight Alexander Martinez over Hoosh Manfio and Olivier Aubin-Mercier? I would if I was Pettis, but again, it's not, I don't think he really has the choice because they're saying he's already clinched the 1 seed, so that means Pettis is going to win. He's going to stay on the outside. He's not going to take too many, chances against a guy, Stevie Ray, who, albeit doesn't have too much power, but I think Pettis is going to win. He'll lock up the 1 seed, and by way of him winning, he's going to guarantee that Manfio, the PFL champ last year, gets a shot in the playoffs, and putting him and Manfio matched up in the first round. So we'll have Manfio and Pettis and Aubin-Mercier and Martinez coming up later this year. And it is main event time between Bruno Cappelozza and Matheus Scheffel. This one's pretty simple. Bruno Cappelozza is not losing. I mean, either he knocks down Scheffel early, and no, it's likely this fight's gonna go. He's gonna knock down Scheffel early and he'll finish him on the ground. I don't think Cappelozza is gonna have any problems in this fight. Again, he came out of nowhere in 2021, winning 4 fights for the PFL, and of course he beat Stuart Austin. He's on a 5-fight winning streak. He was a minus 1,000 favorite going to the Austin fight. He's a minus 500 favorite right now against Scheffel. I'm assuming that number is only gonna continue to rise. He's not losing to Mateusz Scheffel. Okay, it's not happening. If Ante Delija is able to knock out Scheffel, Bruno Cappelozza is going to be able to do the same, and I think Bruno Cappelozza will be able to finish Scheffel in the first round and not the second, like, of course, Delija did when Delija fought Scheffel. Cappelozza is going to win. There's a reason he is the PFL champ, the reason he won it last season. He'll get in the playoffs. I don't really have any doubts about it. I think to this point in time, though, he'd already clinched a playoff spot. I think, or actually, no, because if Scheffel finished him before Cappelozza finished Stuart Austin, then Scheffel could get it instead of Cappelozza. Anyways, I don't think it's going to happen. Cappelozza is going to beat Mateusz Scheffel. It's just a matter of what seed he will fall into. I'll say Bruno Cappelozza first round knockout. Again, the power is going to be too much for Scheffel. Scheffel isn't the greatest striker, again, as we saw him lose to Asmat Moraznikov in the UFC or for the Contender Series, and when Delija finished him too. Cappelozza is going to have his way in this fight. He'll win this one by first round knockout, making him the 3 seed in the heavyweight playoffs. I think it's going to remain exactly the same. So you're going to have Fanon Fahey as the 1 seed, Dennis Goltsov as the 2 seed, Bruno Cappelozza as the 3 seed, and then Ante Delija as the 4 seed, making your playoff matchups Fahey versus Delija and Goltsov versus Cappelozza. So folks, that'll do it for our PFL week number 5 preview and predictions, of course, with the heavyweights and with the featherweights. We'll be back next week with the final regular season episode of the PFL 2022 season, where of course you will have the lightweights, of course, with the women, as well as you will have, of course, with the male division. You're going to have the 170-pounders, so Roy McDonald and Sabah Season on this card. Ray Cooper III versus Brett Cooper. You got Kayla Harrison, Julia Budd in the main event. Magomed Karamov taking on Zeferino. You got some fights coming up next week from Atlanta, Georgia. But for now, that'll do it, folks. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to be on the lookout for our Bellator predictions coming out later tonight with Gegard Mousasi and Johnny Evelyn in the main event for the Bellator 185-pound championship. So folks, thank you for watching, and Mamba forever.